Hi there, today I'd like to share with you a couple of pointers about how to more successfully sell services. First off, you need to understand that there is a big difference in the psychology of people who buy services and buy products. First of all, it's very difficult to sell services online, or the best you can do is to attract people to you and start conversations. Whereas if you're selling products, whether that's desks, shoes, sweets, whatever, it's easy to sell them online over through an e-commerce website from a distance because they're just tangible products. And one of the key things is that with services, it's very, very difficult to gauge the effectiveness or whether a service is going to be very good from a distance. And that's the biggest challenge with selling a service, because almost always when somebody buys a service, they're buying a relationship. And it's often a relationship with the person who dealt with them. Could well be a salesperson, an account manager, the owner of a business who's out selling their services, etc. But the mentality is different, because with a service, you're buying something intangible. You're buying something which is going to do something in some way, shape or form to help you and your business. Now, it doesn't really matter whether that you're selling consultancy services or whether you're a hairdresser or something in between. You're still providing a service and people still will buy based on relationships. But let's start with something like a hairdresser. Typically, someone goes to a hairdresser because they know somebody who already goes there who raves about them. Most of the time, people stay with a hairdresser because they do a fairly good job, but also the relationship with that particular hairdresser. And it's a big deal. Now, there's an old maxim, phrase, call it what you will, that goes something like this. If you're going to open a shop, you need to learn to smile. Now, when you're selling a service, you are opening a shop. You're not selling from a distance, you're selling oftentimes one-to-one, particularly if you're a consultant, it's you're self-employed, or there's just you and a handful of people. You are selling you are selling the relationship. Now, there's two aspects with this relationship that you really need to master. First of all, you need to be personable. You need to be able to develop a relationship. If people can't develop a relationship with you, they won't learn to trust you. And if they don't trust you, it doesn't matter how many letters you have after your name, it doesn't matter how many years of experience that you have under the belt, it doesn't matter how many clients you've got on the book or how fancy your offices are, they won't trust you, they won't buy from you. And it all boils back down to the relationship. When somebody has a good relationship with you, they're more inclined to trust you. And when they begin to trust you, based on your relationship, they will, if it's presented in the right way and they need what you have to offer and they want it, they will buy from you. But it always comes back down to the relationship. And here's the crux of this message today. Selling services is actually selling relationships. Because if you buy a pair of shoes from a website, for example, and they don't fit you, usually you can send them back for a size that might fit. You know, if you go to a local garage and get car tyres and one of them blows up a couple of days later, you can go back and you can get it sorted out. Okay? With a service, it's not that simple. Because oftentimes, very, very few services offer any kind of warranty as to how well it's going to work. You're taking a risk when you buy a service. And this is where the importance of the relationship really, really comes into play. So I would urge you, if you sell services, focus on relationships. Focus on getting along with people. Focus on that smile. I don't know how many times I've been to a restaurant and quite frankly, the waiting staff looked like their grandmother had just died. And it made the whole relationship, the whole experience a lot worse than it could have been had they been personable, chatty and smiley. Here's the interesting thing. If you're a waiter or a waitress, you are providing a service. But if you're chatty and smiley and get along with people, you're more likely to get tipped. You're more likely to get a generous tip as well, because people, whether the service is mediocre or not, if they feel like they've got a great relationship with you, that makes up for a lot of bad service. It's crazy. You know, the food could be slow coming out, but if they get along with you and you've got a good relationship with them, you know, you're chatty, you're relatable, etc., smiley, then people won't complain necessarily about mediocre food or slow service. Now, I'm not saying that's the end of the story, and if you do own a restaurant, I don't condone mediocre or slow service and, not mediocre food. But the key thing is this: start with relationships. And it works exactly the same way with consultancy. I run a service business. I help small businesses and the self-employed build marketing systems. Part of that is done one-on-one, some of it's done remotely, and increasingly a lot more of it will be done through the website. But it's all about the relationship. People buy into the trust that they have in me that I can do what I say I'm going to do. If they didn't like me, if I didn't get along with them and they didn't trust me, they wouldn't put their hand in the pocket. And that's an absolute fact. And I understand that. And you should too. So my message today: work on relationships. If you sell services, it always boils down to a relationship. Sadly, the service industry has a very bad reputation. Customer service is often very poor. And the great news is, if you get good at this, you can stand out in the crowd. And what's good about standing out in the crowd with a service is that people talk. They talk whether it's really bad, but they'll also talk if it's really good too. And they'll tell friends. They're more likely to send friends to you if you provide a great service. But that service always starts with the relationship. Always starts with you providing the relationship. Always starts with you engendering that trust through the relationship with your potential customer. Anyway, I hope that's been really useful. Remember to like, share, subscribe, comment if you have questions. I'll be happy to hear from you. We always respond to questions. But anyway, I want to say thank you for tuning in this time. All the best, and bye for now.